Hey, welcome to my channel. Um, Today, this video is going to be a little bit different if you saw from the title as well as the little show card over here, basically, well out of my norm. And I'll admit, I'm not an expert in this. Will give a head props up to, I guess, Michael Rappaport. It showed up on my shorts, YouTube shorts, discussing something about a scandal. And I'm like, okay, thinking Michael Rappaport, like, if it's a scandal, it's got to be something sports related. Turns out it's about Vanderpump Rules. I'm like, huh? What the? I'm like, for me, reality TV shows, I was more of a Big Brother, originally Survivor after 3 or 4 seasons. After that, I stopped. More Big Brother and Amazing Race, more than anything else, to be quite honest. So I wasn't really watching too much reality TV outside of those two shows, basically. Um, and like the Keeping Up with the Kardashians or whatever it's called now on Hulu or whatever crap that is and such, I wasn't really a huge fan. But then I will say that the pandemic did change me. Where going onto Netflix, seeing Love Is Blind as well as At First Sight, those two kicked off a little bit of the genre back to me again. Basically going to reality TV. And then hearing about this stuff about like Vanderpump Rules. Now, like I said, I haven't watched all the seasons. I have watched all of season 10 so far up to this point, up to episode 6, as well as parts of 9 as well too. And I have seen parts here and there of season 1 through 4, 1 through 6, basically. Bits and pieces, not every episode for all the seasons, just episodes here and there, basically. Um, but as far as this scandal, so from what I'm hearing, basically, or now from what I'm hearing, but I mean, it was also on some news. I don't know how it became so newsworthy, but I think it's more the way Tom Sandoval portrayed himself within the show. And I gotta say, for 10 full seasons, it's pretty impressive what he was able to do to be looking like a good guy. I mean, you could see that he was partly had that ego, whether he's a narcissist or not. I mean, heads up to uh, Lala for calling him out like that, basically, or others as well as calling him a narcissist as well too, as well as a Kirsten, basically, a Kirsten Duty. But it's more of a case where it's impressive enough to the point where, like, when him and basically Ariana got together, and essentially, I thought, from honestly, I thought they were married at that point. Only to realize, oh, they were just living together, basically. But the situation is basically, like I said with Sandoval, it's pretty impressive how he was able to mold his TV persona, to being a good guy on the show, basically. Not seeing, like, maybe seeing me like a jerk every now and then, but like still at least being a good guy. And so that's why I think this scandal is kind of big in that aspect. From the aspect of, him being a good guy, it went to that level. But the other aspect as well too is the fact that Bravo TV and the film crew did not ever catch wind of this. That's pretty impressive. And that's also pretty impressive of himself. What Sandoval and Raquel, or Bambi B, as people are starting to call her nowadays, was able to do. Um, Now the question is like, well, there are a few questions. First and foremost, one, did Schwartz know about this? I mean, the fact is, like, these two guys are like really good buddies, business partners, good friends, throughout the entire season, basically. And it's one of those things where Schwartz had to have known, basically. I mean, the fact that they're saying that Schwartz, it sounds like Schwartz, from what TMZ is reporting, as well as a few others, that at page 6, that Schwartz openly admitted that, yeah, he knew a month before the news came out, that he was aware, and he told them basically, hey, you got to tell Ariana this, trying to be the good guy on his end. But I think that's more of him saving face on his end as well too, publicly speaking, and from a PR perspective. He's just trying to say that basically, like, hey, you got to come talk to Ariana. Chances are he probably knew this well before in advance. Probably, supposedly the affair has been going on for like 8 months now, so I would say maybe 6 months into, with two, yeah, after 2 months into it, he probably started to figure things out. I mean, he can't be that stupid enough to not realize. I mean, if she's showing up at certain things while he's there for business with Sandoval, Schwartz had to realize something's going on at that point. For all we know, he could have encouraged it too. That's the other factor too. So the whole question comes down to is how much did Schwartz know? Uh, but the other factor is like the way some of this stuff played out though in season 10, that is as well too. The fact that Bambi, Raquel or Rachel, basically, it sounded like she basically was able to. I don't want to say manipulate Sheena, but it might have been maybe a little bit of Schwartz and Sandoval putting that into Sheena's head. She's like, hey, try to get Schwartz and Raquel to basically kind of like hook up or like at least do whatever it is. Now the question is like I don't know who came up with the plan. There's no way Raquel came up with this plan. She's not bright enough to come up with a plan of like distract everyone with her and Schwartz so that no one will know that her and Sandoval were together basically. So there's no way she's that smart to come up with that. Sandoval, does he seem smart enough to do that? No, but he might be devious enough to do that, honestly. And the other aspect is like, you know what? He probably learned it from a playbook, couple of playbooks from in the past with some of his other buddies or other celebrities at that point as well too. Distraction is the key to basically getting away with things. And the whole thing was like even I think Bravo TV was caught up in it as well too. They were distracted because they're creating this drama of Schwartz and Raquel angering, of course, Katie Maloney to the point where, like, honestly, I don't know why she should be angered about it, but it's more of a case where I think she's more of angered at the fact that Schwartz would be dipping into the pool, the friend pool, basically. And that's kind of even in itself surprising. But I mean, honestly, based on all the other seasons I've seen or other episodes I've seen as well, too, or some stuff that I've read as well, too, I mean, it doesn't seem far fetched that each person within the show cast basically goes after each other, basically goes within the pool, basically. I mean, the fact that here you're seeing in season 10 uh, that Lala hooked up with James while James and Raquel were seeing each other or kind of engaged, I guess, in a ways, or were in a deep relationship at that point. And the same thing with the fact that uh, yeah, it was just one of those things that was like a little bit like okay, things come back full circle basically. So it was one of those things where it's a case of who came up with the plan. And the thing is like I think that's the other factors why again it got such notoriety. It's getting so much notoriety. It's because of the fact that Bravo themselves, the producers, the film crew, were not even aware of this. They were not fully aware of this until news broke out, and they're like, "What the?" Because like they were so distracted by the fact that they were thinking it was it's going to be Schwartz and Raquel, and unfortunately Katie became the true collateral damage at that point as well too, because in the show, basically Katie's eye being seen as uh, a B, basically, for like, why should she care about Schwartz? Schwartz's love life if she's hooking up with other people. Let Schwartz have his way. They're divorced at this point. I mean, granted, Schwartz it was definitely Schwartz's fault on his part, basically as to why they divorced. I mean, he's openly admitted apparently that he did essentially have a roving eye for other women while being married to Katie. So it's a case where like what Schwartz doing what he did, it shouldn't have been a surprise then with Sandoval with Ariana. Honestly, looking more like it now. The Miami Girl incident from what season 3 or 4, whatever, maybe I don't know how long it was. I've read about it. But that seems more and more plausible now. That fact is like, you know what? If he did this, if he's doing this with Raquel, he had to have done that with the Miami girl, hooked up with her. The real thing is now I have a feeling what's going to happen is, as time progresses, there are probably going to be a few more other women that are going to come out and say is like, there might be some that are going to come out for their 15 minutes of fame, but there are some that are probably going to just come out because of the fact that it's true and like to the point of like Raquel was not the only one. The Miami girl was not the other one. Sandoval had to have done this in the past as well during their time, their entire relationship with Ariana. They had to have been like, he had to have been sleeping around as well too, with other people, or hooked up with some people at that point too. So I hate to say it, but Ariana, I feel bad for Ariana, but you know what? from what I'm seeing and hearing, she has her support system and she should be living it up in Mexico. She's in Mexico right now, so hopefully she's doing really well in Mexico. The one thing though that I will say though is I did see some podcasts here and there about Madrigal and how the first season, season one or the opening of the season, basically season 10, he was, as Raquel would call it, view him as a step pony, basically, after getting out of a relationship with James. Reality, I don't know what it is, but the thing is, Madrigal was saying, Peter was basically saying it to saying that, you know what, there were signs there. I didn't think nothing of it because the fact was, is like he was like, this is Sandoval. There's no way he's going to be doing something as stupid as this. Honestly, I think that's 2020 hindsight now in this part, on his part, basically, because the thing is like the signs were probably there. You probably didn't want to recognize it because it's not a case of like, you weren't thinking stand up. It's more of a case where like, you know what, you just were not bright enough to actually recognize it. I mean, I don't mean to say that he's not bright, but it's more of a case where like, honestly, if you're infatuated with some girl, you're not going to see the signs. I mean, there might be some signs here and there, but you wouldn't see it until after things have happened. You'll start realizing, oh wait, boom, 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 at that point. So I think it was more of a case where like there was distraction, and there could have been a case of like him being distracted with work and all that stuff. Basically, who knows? But the one thing that I was a little surprised about is how all of a sudden that Sheena and Lala suddenly started going in the press releases now and all that stuff, like how they're going right after like Raquel. It makes absolute sense that they're going after her right now, but the fact is like earlier they're now starting to say, you know what? I told you she was this, she was that, yada yada yada. And in reality, I mean, like in the show, you didn't, especially in this season, you don't see that entirely. You see them like going, being like the big sister, or sort of the friendly type, basically, like being open to Raquel and all this stuff. And now all of a sudden they said, well, I knew from the beginning and all this stuff. I'm like, what? I was like, okay, whatever. But this is one of those things where like it's an interesting plot line, to be quite honest. More so because the fact is like it's not the fact that how things are going. I mean, the whole thing is it seems like this whole cast is incestuous with itself, basically. But it's more of a case where I think the fact that these two were able to pull off something that the film producers, the casting, not the cast, but the crew, more of the film crew and such, were unable to see. There had to have been signs as well too. Apparently, even when what's her name, Sheena and Raquel were on Andy Cohen's show. What would you do? Something live. I forgot the name of the show. It's escaping my mind right now. But in any case, there were cases where like essentially Cohen asked like between Shorts and Sandov, who would you choose? And this is at this moment in time, everything is airing at this point, where or at least up to episode 4, I think, at that point, where like things are pointing towards Raquel kind of leaning towards Schwartz. Raquel basically is like, you know what, Sandoval, better abs and such. And Cohen's like, oh, okay, that actually does make sense. It was kind of surprising, but now seeing that there were signs there as well too. So that's interesting in and of itself, basically, from that perspective. And the fact that like no one caught guard. That's why I think this is a much bigger scandal than more than anything else, is because of the fact that Bravo was not fully aware of this. And that's the impressive part. The other factor is like not Sandoval, Schwartz definitely knew this. Going into it, at least if we know he knew for sure at least a month before everything was found out. But the thing is like it sounded like the way they were gonna present this to Ariana was either just before the reunion show or after the reunion show. I don't think they're going to do it live on TV unless they want to create some massive drama at that point. So it definitely is a backlash against Schwartz and Sandoval at this point as well too. More so the fact is like what Sandoval did. Everyone's all about Team Ari. No one's going to be Team Schwartz at this point. I mean, he's probably seeing what it is now. You're seeing the signs in some of the episodes and such that the guy was definitely narcissistic enough to the point where like it'll be interesting to see today's episode as well as the following couple weeks episodes as well as the reunion, how Sandoval addresses this. And I have a feeling it's going to be that egotistical, narcissistic attitude of, it's like, hey, like I did her. I mean, the fact I think from what I read, not read but have seen, to the point where like his apology on Instagram, the first one was not even mentioning anything about Ariana or being sorry about it. It seems like he felt like there was no need to apologize to her. And then essentially after the backlash came out, his PR team was like, "Hey, you got to put out an apology," and like constantly mentioning her name in that second letter, apologizing to Ariana was kind of okay. He sort of is, essentially trying to save face at the same time because he created this persona and now he's lost it. And so now the question is like he's gonna try to repair it as much as he possibly can, but the backlash is already in place. I don't think there's a way he's gonna repair it. It's just a matter of how Ariana presents herself or how Ariana goes about from here on out. Mind you, she's justified to go again, go all out against both Raquel and uh, especially Sandoval. But the question is like, how far does she go? I mean, if she goes to the point where like it's constantly, always constant, I think people will get tired, and then people eventually like, you know what, Ariana is just like, like they probably like, you know what, probably like the show. She is a B, but just like forget them at that point. In honesty. So I don't know, but I'm pretty sure she's definitely going to be hurt, but I think she's going to recover. The question is like, sorry, the question is will she basically take this and learn from it? But the other factor is like, will her and Katie now bond more closely than before? That's the interesting factor because I think this will definitely bring Ariana, Katie, and Sheena much closer. Though Sheena's still going to be doing our podcast, but I think Ariana and Katie are going to be much closer as a result of this. That it's definitely going to add more fuel to the fire with the Toms basically, to the point where like again Schwartz cheating on Katie, and as well as having gone through that divorce, knowing full well that eventually think more and more stuff is going to come out about Sandoval. I have a gut feeling more and more stuff is going to come out about Sandoval cheating on Ariana way beforehand, way before Raquel anyways. That it's going to be a case where these two are spurned women, and it's a matter of like maybe new cast members coming in on board, or them actually hooking up with other guys and such, whatever maybe, I don't know. But the one thing though is that as a result of this, Lisa Vanderpump is caught in the middle of all this now. Now in reality, she tries to portray her as a good boss, a friendly boss, a friend's friend basically. But at the same time, she's now caught in the middle of all this, and so the question is, she has to step back. The problem is like she's already in alignment with them for Tom Toms. So the problem is now if the fans that side with Ari no longer go to Tom Toms, business is not going to go do well there, as well as Schwartz and Sandy's. Now that's going to be the sucky part about it. I mean, Schwartz is going to try to do everything he can to repair as much as he possibly can and distance himself as much as he possibly can to save the business, basically, because like they've got some serious cash in Schwartz and Sandy's for sure. So I would love to say that. I've gone on over 15 minutes. Wow. This is, I think, one of the rare few times I've actually talked over 15 minutes. I try to keep my rants under 15 minutes, but this is going to a little bit longer, unfortunately. I'm going to say this though: is it will be interesting to see what the reunion show will be like. I know it's supposed to be aired, supposedly March 23rd, but it might be pushed to March 29th. But we won't see the airing until April, maybe. So I would love to see how things go as a result of this. It'd be great if they could talk about this. I mean, now we're seeing that Bravo actually is, the crew is going back and filming more stuff now as a result. The aftermath of this, they have to film more stuff, and they're probably going to put this into the final season finale at that point. Maybe even the series finale. Who knows? But it's most likely going to be the season finale because I have a feeling this show's probably going to have one or two more seasons left because it's just too much drama, and everyone's going to wonder like, okay, what happens next, etc. Not more what happens next, but like what happens with the recovery period for Ariana, and like as far as the Toms basically, as well for Tom Toms, as well as Sandy and Schwartz, what happens to those two businesses, Will Sir as well as Pump. Well, Sir should do well, do okay. Same thing with Pump as well too. The real question is like what happens with Cal. Um, Chances are she probably has to leave Sir at this point, honestly, because Lisa can't keep her. Honestly, it'd be hard to keep her at this point because if you do, you're going to get a backlash of your patrons basically at that point that are fans of the show as well too, and at the same time they're probably just going to come into the restaurant just to taunt her and all that stuff, taunt Raquel rather than Lisa, and like it's going to be disruptive to business at that point. So I have a feeling she's going to have no choice but to let Raquel go. The question is where she goes. I don't know. Maybe she goes to Tom Tom's or she goes to Sandy's and Schwartz and Sandy's. But the other factor is also um, with her leaving, Sir, will she still be part of the show as a big factor as well too? And will Sandoval be part of the show as well too? I have a feeling he would be if there's another season. He's going to be part of the show still. Um, I think Ariana will have to. It'll be a year before they start filming again. For her to recover and such. The question is, will she take a break or such, or will she just move away from the show? I don't know. It's going to be hard to say. We'll see. We'll have to see what's in the reunion and see what happens with the reunion. Um, but then again, also, I would not be surprised to see Raquel on some other reality TV show, kind of cast as sort of the villain type, and her trying to repair her image. She's going to try to play off as like Bambi, basically, like as Lalo would call her Bambi B, but instead in this case Bambi's like I didn't know what I was doing. I was manipulated, etc. etc. You don't get manipulated for 8 months. That's one big thing, and the other factor is like Tom saying that this might be, Sandoval saying this might be love. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, honestly, they've been doing this for 8 months now, so you don't have an affair for 8 months um, of this nature, unless Sandoval was also hooking up with other chicks while he was cheating on Ariana and also cheating on Raquel at that point as well too with another chick. If he's hooking up with other chicks, if that comes out to be true, then yeah, then that she signs were there. He pointed to it basically at this point. Um, the one person the two people that I do feel bad for, like I said, is basically Ariana, of course, because she was cheated on. But then there's also Katie because she was collateral damage. The show was starting to focus on the whole triangle aspect of like you've got Katie and Schwartz, but then now you got Schwartz and Raquel basically, and it's like one of those things like how does why is Katie getting all pissed off? What's Katie's reactions? Or not pissed off, but like what should she be doing at that point? Should she be going out there? I don't know. And as far as Schwartz is concerned, I mean, like I said, the whole question comes down to how much did he know? A lot of people are saying like probably he most likely knew well in the beginning from the beginning, or at least 2 months into it, he had to have known since then. For a good at least 5 to 6 months. Even though he's saying he only knew a month beforehand, I think he knew 6 to 7 months beforehand at least. The real question is like, was he part of the plan as far as being the distraction? Like I said, I mean, it was pretty impressive. Like, not impressive, but it was more a case of like, I think Schwartz and Sandoval probably came up with the idea of like, okay, let's do a distraction and, have everyone focus on you with Raquel. And, and at that point, everyone in Bravo's distracted, as well as the viewers. They're all distracted by this while this is going on. But by being distracted by this, it creates a juicy plot line as well too, with our Nicole at this. I mean, sorry, with Katie at this point. Um, Honestly, I'm kind of curious to see if like any other former cast members will come back as a result and get reintroduced into the show at that point as well too. That would be interesting to see, quite honestly. But honestly, Schwartz definitely had to have known. I hate to say it, but you're going to get the backlash as well too. You could try to repair as much as you can, but I don't think it's going to work. Both Schwartz and Sandoval, of course, using their PR to like get everything in play, to kill not kill off the fires, but at least contain the fire as much as they possibly can. I mean, there's only so much they can do at this point, especially in Hollywood. Um, the only other question now is um, as far as the supposed video or screen capture, screen video grab uh, that Sandoval got of Raquel. The real question is like, I don't think it will be able to be shown on TV. I don't think they're going to show it, but everyone's aware of it. So it's not the fact that they're going to air it. First off, I mean, I don't think Bravo can air something of that nature because of because of nudes. So like, there's no way they can do that. But the fact that they're trying to go off the fact is like, oh, it's revenge porn. It was done out of my, not out of my, not off consent from her. But the problem is like, it's a fine line with with that law basically as being revenge porn. It was screen captured. It was on his phone, but he didn't post it. It was just more of like his girlfriend, significant other, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. Found it on his phone, sent it to herself, as well as maybe to a few others, as proof and otherwise, and then going from there at that point. I mean, honestly, it'll be interesting to see. It'd have been great if if the show had captured the episode of her, Ariana, actually finding the phone and the pictures in the phone at that point as well too. Same thing with also the fact of after their show with Andy Cohen, apparently both not Ariana, sorry, both Sheena and Raquel, after the show, basically, Ariana, it was the day of the show that Ariana basically called up. It sounds like she called up Sheena first, or she called up. Well, it sounded like she called up Raquel first to confront her, and then Sheena found out, or to Ariana texted it to Sheena, and then Sheena started like, "What the hell?" And then like the fact that Sheena says like there was no scuffle between her and Raquel. It's hard to say. I mean, honestly, if you got a black eye, it's hard to. And just after like this happens after the show, while the show is airing, Andy Cohen's show is airing, you don't see any black. I mean, unless there's some seriously heavy makeup, and Sheena's saying, "Oh, that was there before. She did it to herself, etc." No, I think it's more of a case where this might have been Sheena. I don't think she punched her, but she must have done something like maybe slapped her or something. I don't know what it is, but Sheena doesn't seem well. Actually, with Brock, who knows? She might have learned some punching tactics at that point too. So I would not. And self-defense classes. I mean, so I would not be surprised if she did punch her out. They even though they say Sheena's not like a girl to punch. I've grown up with women like that in the past, like in my neighborhoods, and they were good fighters, quite honestly. So they were scrappy, but they were still good fighters. So I would not be surprised if she punched her out like that. So it would be interesting to see also what the restraining order part at that point as well too. But then again, of course, this is Sheena basically, like her losing her temper, and she definitely had Ari's back for sure, her girl's back for sure at that point too. So, but in any case, it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, the reunion show. I think the hotly anticipated one. I mean, everyone's anticipating this week's episode, where Raquel is hooking up with that actress's son, the one that works at Vanderpump Rules the one that works at Vanderpump Rules in Vanderpump Paris, and sees basically that's her style, that's her actions and such. Honestly, that could be a case where like maybe it was Sandoval telling us like, hey, look, whenever you get a chance and you're on TV, kiss a guy, whatever it may be, just do it. I know it won't mean anything, but just do it so that we can get the distraction away from us, basically, so they won't see it. And honestly, now that I'm talking more and more about it, this sounds like it is more of a case where like Sandoval is devious enough to do this, because again, it's the way, if you see from from seasons 1 through 10, before this whole thing broke out, he had this great TV personality and great TV persona as being a good guy, and I think he knew how to shape it well enough to know while on camera to making sure that it was well shaped in that aspect. So that's the interesting factor, is like I think he tried to maintain that image, but now that image is shattered as a result of this. It's going to be hard for him to come back with this in this situation, honestly. But hey, who knows? Like people have affairs. They go on to, basically, have a better marriage and kids and such, etc. I don't know. People do, like recover, like do live on from this and move on from this at this point too. The rest of us will probably move on as well too. I mean, like look at it this way. I mean, at the time, um, the fact that uh, what's his name, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. I mean, it ended ultimately in a messy divorce, but Brad Pitt was married to Jennifer Aniston, having an affair with Angelina Jolie. Everyone thought Angelina Jolie was a homewrecker, which she kind of was at that point, but everyone's blaming Brad Pitt. Everyone felt bad for Jennifer Aniston, and rightfully so. But as the years progressed, the whole Brangelina was coming about. Everyone started like thinking of them as royalty couple, as a royalty couple, basically. So honestly, you never know with this. Basically, we'll see what happens with this one as well too. But like I said, it's. I think the whole reason why this is growing a little bit more, this is getting more steam, more momentum, is the fact is like, it's not the fact that his image, Sandoval's image, was completely broken as a result. Seeing as a good guy, I think it's more of a case of like these are not too well bright people. I want to say, and you could definitely know Raquel is not that bright. Consolidated, and you're digressing. That this was they're digressing from the digressing from the. Anyways, sorry. They're not too bright enough, but the fact that they were able to pull one over on Bravo, the producers, the film crew, the entire crew, is pretty massively impressive, considering that they were like pretty much watching him like hawks practically. And the fact that they were able to distract him with this while this was going on was that's what I think the whole thing is why everyone's like caught off guard. And like this is why it's a big scandal, because Bravo themselves were caught off guard. And that's why I think this is this is impressive as what they did for people of their nature, or their stature, I should say, or yeah, their stature is what I should say. But in any case, I'll just leave it at that. Again, please leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts on this. Hey, look, like I said, I'm no expert on this. I've only watched season 10, parts of season 9, and some episodes here and there, but I haven't watched the entirety of it. I know there was that whole other scandal with the racist aspects of things back in season 4 or 3 or something like that, or 5, I can't remember. I didn't watch that because it wasn't at, for me, it's like, it is what it was at that point. So, but in any case, this one I think is because like this one gained a lot more momentum because of the fact I think Bravo's caught off guard by this, and like they didn't see this happening. So I think that's why this is a blown up proportion. And I was like, let me just watch a couple episodes. I'm like, oh, okay. And I thought it was probably going to be caught on camera too, but it wasn't. That's why I'm like, oh my goodness, they did not catch this. But anyways, that's what I'm saying is like, I'm not a true expert at this. I'm not a reality TV expert. I don't know the ins and outs of these people, basically, all these characters. Quite honestly, I could just base it on stuff that I've garnered from watching as well as reading about them, basically, and such. But that's as far as I can go. But I think let me know your thoughts. Do you think the reason why this is such a bigger scandal than it normally is because the fact is like they were able to put one over on Bravo TV, and by coming up with this devious plan of like, basically distraction with Schwartz and Schwartz and Raquel versus what was actually happening with Raquel and Scandoval at that point. And the other factor is like, the other factor that comes out is like, did Schwartz know? And if he did know, when did he know, and how much did he know? And chances are he knew from the beginning, or at least definitely 2 months into it, he definitely knew at that point as well too. And then the other factor is like, what happens now? It'll be interesting to see after the reunion show. What is there going to be another season? Chances are there most likely is, but the other factor is, what does Lisa do at this point? Lisa Vanderpump, does she have to let Raquel go at this point? Because like, there's no way she can keep her. She'll become a distraction. And the real question is like, what happens with Tom Tom's and Schwartz and Sandy's at that point as well too. Let me know your thoughts. Please leave me in the comments. I do read my comments, of course, and I do try to respond to some of my comments as well too. But and also the other cases, like, if you like my some of my content, please subscribe, and like I'll try posting up more stuff, and you know what, I might start deviating a little bit towards some reality TV at this point as well. Like I said, most of my channels usually missing me basically ranting about sports, general life in general, or basically tech as well too, talking about some tech stuff. But also at the same time, I will talk about some TV shows like Picard, some of those seasons, as well as some other TV shows. But in this case, reality TV is coming back to me a little bit more. So I'm like, you know what, this might uh, this might bring me into another facet of another aspect of the channel as well too from that perspective. But anyways, like I said, please subscribe and please let me know your thoughts and comments. And with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and unrehearsed. Until next time.